Time is an illusion we tell ourselves to make existence bearable. A story we agree on, past, present, future. A line we can follow from birth to death. But what happens when that line becomes a circle? What happens when you experience every moment of your life at the same time, every joy, every agony, every breath and every ending, all happening now? I know what happens, because I've seen them. The people who entered the storm and never came out. Oh, they're still there, still living, still dying, still being born, all at once, forever. This is the story of Millbrook Valley and the storm that has been screaming for 127 years. Part 1. The Eternal Weather. The first scientific paper about the Millbrook storm was published in 1897, 3 months after it began. Dr. Edmund Hargrove, a meteorologist from Princeton, had traveled to the valley in western Colorado after receiving multiple telegrams about an unusual weather phenomenon. His report, which I found in the university archives, reads like something from a fever dream. The storm occupies precisely 2.7 square miles of valley floor, its boundaries as sharp as if drawn with a compass. Beyond this circumference, the sky remains clear. Within, a thunderstorm of unprecedented violence rages without cessation. I have observed the phenomenon for 6 consecutive days. The lightning strikes the same 7 locations with clockwork regularity, every 47 seconds without fail. The thunder that follows forms patterns that my instruments cannot adequately capture, but which my ears insist contain structure, perhaps even meaning. Dr. Hargrove's final entry, dated October 3, 1897, was never published. It was found loose in his personal effects. I entered the storm this morning at dawn. I must know. I must. The patterns in the thunder, they're not random. They're not weather. They're calling. I can hear my name. I can hear all names. I can hear. The handwriting dissolved into illegible scrawls. Dr. Hargrove was never seen again. That was 127 years ago. The storm is still there. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, atmospheric physicist. And until 6 weeks ago, I thought I'd seen everything weird weather could throw at me. Ball lightning in Nevada, sprites over Oklahoma, a tornado that touched down in the same field 3 years running. But nothing prepared me for Millbrook. The grant proposal practically wrote itself. Temporal analysis of a persistent supercell system, understanding the Millbrook anomaly. $500,000 to study the storm that wouldn't die. My department chair approved it in record time, probably because no one else wanted to touch it. The valley is a 4-hour drive from Denver, through mountains that get progressively steeper and roads that get progressively worse. The last town before Millbrook Valley is a place called Shepherd's Rest, population 47, according to a sun-faded sign. I stopped there for gas and information. The woman at the register was maybe 60, with eyes that had seen too much. When I asked about Millbrook Valley, she stopped mid-scan on my energy drink. "You a scientist?" she asked. "Meteorologist." "They always are." She finished ringing me up, her movements suddenly rushed. "Listen to me carefully. The valley is 7 miles north. You'll see the storm when you crest Morgan's Pass. Can't miss it. You can get as close as you want to the boundary. You can measure it, film it, study it, all you like." She grabbed my wrist across the counter, her grip surprisingly strong. "But do not enter the storm. Do you understand me? Not one step past the boundary." "Why? What happens?" Her eyes went distant. "Time stops being a line, becomes a point, a singularity. Everything you ever were, are, will be, all happening at once. I seen people come out of there." She released my wrist. Seen 'em come out as old women and young girls and corpses all at the same time. Seen 'em age and unage, dying and being born, screaming in languages they won't speak for 30 more years. That's not scientifically possible. Neither's a storm that's been raging since 1897, she said flatly. 17 miles of chain-link fence around that valley, put up by the government in 1952. Signs every 100 feet, warning lights, motion sensors, and still, every few years, someone goes in. Scientists mostly, people who think they know better. What happens to them? They're still in there. All of them. We can see them sometimes when the lightning flashes, living their whole lives at once. Forever. I crested Morgan's Pass at 3:47 p.m. She was right. You couldn't miss it. The storm sat in the valley like a wound in reality. Even from 2 miles away, I could see the sharp demarcation. Clear sky and autumn sunshine outside a perfect circle, and within that circle, a roiling black mass of cloud that flickered constantly with internal lightning. The thunder reached me a moment later. Not a crack or a rumble, but something else. Something that had rhythm, pattern, almost like breathing. I pulled over and set up my portable weather station on the shoulder of the road. Even at this distance, the readings were insane. Barometric pressure fluctuating by 50 millibars every 47 seconds. Temperature variance of 40 degrees in the same time frame. Electromagnetic readings that pinned my instruments into the red. And the lightning. God, the lightning. It struck the same 7 points in the valley over and over. I timed it with my stopwatch. 47 seconds between strikes, every time, precise as an atomic clock. Through my binoculars, I could see the fence the woman had mentioned. Industrial chain link, 20 feet high, topped with razor wire. Warning signs visible every few yards, though I was too far to read them. And beyond the fence, inside the boundary, I could see buildings, or what remained of them. A farmhouse, half collapsed, a barn with its roof caved in, what might have been a church steeple, though the structure below it had been reduced to rubble. How long had these buildings been exposed to over a century of continuous storm? The degradation should have been total. They should have been obliterated decades ago. Unless time didn't work the same way inside the boundary. I was setting up my camera when I saw movement near the fence. A figure, human-shaped but wrong somehow. It was there, then it wasn't, then it was again, flickering in and out of existence like a bad video signal. I zoomed in with my telephoto lens. It was a man, or had been. He was young and old simultaneously. I could see him as a boy, as a middle-aged man, as an elderly person, all occupying the same space. His mouth was open in a scream that I watched form and complete and begin again, over and over, a loop of agony lasting less than a second, but somehow also eternal. His clothes shifted through decades of fashion. Overalls, a suit, military uniform, hospital gown, funeral suit, baby clothes that couldn't possibly fit the adult body wearing them. He was walking toward the fence, or away from it, or both. His movements didn't follow a linear progression. He existed in all positions of his path at once, a smear of possible locations, all of them real. Then lightning struck. And for a moment, I saw clearly. He wasn't alone. There were dozens of them in there, maybe hundreds, all flickering through their timelines, all experiencing every moment of their existence simultaneously. I saw a woman who was pregnant and holding a baby and dying of old age, all her ages layered over each other like a poorly edited photograph. I saw a child running and falling and crying and laughing, all the emotions of a lifetime compressed into a single eternal instant. The thunder rolled across the valley, and I heard it clearly now. It wasn't random. It was words. "Help me! I'm sorry! Help me! It never ends! Help me! I can see everything! Help me!" Different voices, Hundreds of them, all speaking at once, their words compressed into the sound of thunder, stretched across 127 years of continuous storm. I dropped my binoculars and ran back to my car. Part 2. The Watchers. I should have left. Should have driven back to Denver, filed a report, let someone else deal with this impossibility. Instead, I rented a room at Shepherd's Rest and spent 3 days studying the storm from Morgan's Pass, filming it, recording the electromagnetic patterns, timing the lightning strikes. They never varied. Every 47 seconds, the same 7 points, the same intensity. The thunder that followed formed the same patterns, not repeating exactly, but structured, linguistic, like a language made of atmospheric pressure and sound waves. On the 4th day, I hiked down to the fence. The warning signs were explicit. Danger, temporal anomaly zone, do not cross boundary. Unauthorized entry is fatal. Survivors will be prosecuted. That last line gave me chills. Survivors, as if death would be preferable. The fence was in good repair, clearly maintained despite the remote location. Every 100 feet, there were motion sensors and cameras. Someone was watching this place, someone official. I walked the perimeter for an hour, staying well outside the boundary. The line was visible, a perfect circle where the storm ended and clear weather began. The temperature dropped 20 degrees the moment you crossed that invisible line. The air pressure made my ears pop. And the sound. The thunder was louder here, so loud that I could feel it in my chest, in my bones. And the words were clearer. Sarah Chen, you're here. You've always been here. You will always be here. Sarah Chen. My name? In the thunder? How did it know my name? I stumbled backward, heart hammering. The storm couldn't know who I was. Storms didn't have consciousness, didn't have awareness, didn't speak people's names in voices that sounded like hundreds of throats screaming in unison. Unless it wasn't a storm. Movement inside the boundary caught my eye. One of the time-trapped figures was close to the fence, closer than I'd seen any of them get. It was a woman, or many versions of a woman. She flickered through ages. Teenager, young mother, elderly woman with white hair, child, corpse. All of them wearing expressions of unbearable anguish. She raised her hand, lowered it, raised it, all movements simultaneous, a blur of possibility. She was pointing at the ground. I looked down and saw them, carved into the dirt just outside the fence, dozens of messages scratched with rocks or sticks. It sees all time. We are forever. The storm is hungry. Don't let it touch you. Born, dying, living all at once. And one message carved deeper than the others, the letters filled with what looked like dried blood. We're still conscious. That night, I broke into the Shepherd's Rest library. It wasn't hard. Small town, honor system. The back window didn't lock properly. I needed to know the history, needed to understand what had started this. The Historical Society kept meticulous records. I found newspaper clippings dating back to 1897, photographs, personal journals. The story that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. The storm had begun on July 15, 1897, at 3:17 p.m. local time. It started above the Millbrook farmhouse, home to William and Catherine Millbrook and their 7 children. Witnesses from neighboring farms reported seeing a single cloud appear from nothing directly above the property. It grew with impossible speed, darkening from white to gray to black in less than a minute. The first lightning strike hit at 3:18 p.m., then another, 47 seconds later. Then another. By evening, the pattern was established. 7 strikes, cycling endlessly, each hitting one of 7 specific locations on the Millbrook property. The farmhouse, the barn, the well, the old oak tree, the eastern field, the family cemetery, the road. The Millbrook family was never seen again, but according to multiple witness statements, they were still there. People could see them through the rain, flickering, changing, aging and unaging, living and dying and being born all at once. Over the next decades, people had entered the storm. Rescue attempts at first, then scientists, then the desperate, the curious, the suicidal. The government built the fence in 1952 after a Boy Scout troop wandered in on a camping trip. All 13 boys were still visible in the storm, according to the reports, trapped in temporal loops. One witness described them seeing them existing as boys and men and old people and corpses, all their possible futures collapsed into a single eternal present. I found Dr. Hargrove's final journal in a box marked "Property of E. Hargrove, do not remove." The last entry was longer than the published version. I entered the storm at dawn. The moment I crossed the boundary, I felt it, the line of my life becoming a circle. I can see my birth. I can see my death. They're happening now. I'm being born now. I'm dying now. I'm writing this now, and I've always been writing this, and I will always be writing this. The storm isn't weather. It's a wound in causality, a place where time stopped being linear and became a point, a singularity where all moments exist simultaneously. I can see the others, the Millbrook family. They're here with me, living their entire lives at once. I can hear them screaming in the thunder. I'm screaming with them. I've been screaming for seconds and hours and decades, and I will scream forever, because there is no forever. There's only now. The handwriting dissolved into chaos, then reformed. The storm is conscious. It's feeding, growing stronger with each person trapped. It wants to expand. It wants to unmake time itself. We're not victims. We're fuel.
Part 3. The 7 points. I spent the next week mapping the lightning strikes with GPS precision. 7 points, struck in the same order every 47 seconds for 127 years. When I plotted them, they formed a pattern. Not random, not natural, a perfect heptagon with the Millbrook farmhouse at the center. This wasn't a weather phenomenon. This was designed, intentional. I found a local historian named Margaret Hayes in the Shepherd's Rest nursing home. She was 94, sharp as a knife, and according to records, her grandmother had been neighbors with the Millbrooks. "You want to know what William Millbrook did?" she said when I explained why I'd come. It wasn't a question. Yes. He was a teacher, mathematics, geometry, but he was obsessed with something else: time. He believed time was an illusion, that past, present, and future all existed simultaneously, and human consciousness was just too limited to perceive it. She pulled out a shoebox full of photographs and old papers. He corresponded with scientists all over the world, Tesla, other fringe thinkers, and somehow he got his hands on something. She handed me a photograph of William Millbrook standing in front of his barn, holding what looked like a crystal or prism. This, he called it a temporal anchor, said he'd acquired it from a dealer in Prague who specialized in unusual antiquities. What was it supposed to do? Reveal time as it truly was, remove the illusion of linear progression, and let a person experience all moments at once. Enlightenment, he called it, transcendence. He used it? July 15th, 1897, he gathered his whole family in the farmhouse, 7 people, him, his wife, 5 children. He placed this anchor thing in the center of the room and activated it somehow. A neighbor saw the flash from a mile away, said it looked like lightning, but it came from the ground up, not sky down. And the storm started. Immediately. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too many years. The ritual, or experiment, or whatever it was, it worked. William Millbrook wanted to experience all time at once. He got his wish. They all did. But it didn't enlighten them. It trapped them. And the storm is the manifestation of that trap, a temporal wound that won't heal. Why doesn't it dissipate? Why has it been going for over a century? Because they're still in there, still conscious, still experiencing every moment of their existence simultaneously. The storm isn't weather, Dr. Chen. It's a prison, and it's powered by suffering. I went back to the fence that night with a theory eating at me. The lightning struck 7 points in a heptagon, 7 members of the Millbrook family. What if each strike corresponded to a person? What if the storm was maintaining the pattern of their ritual, keeping them locked in that moment of transformation forever? I waited for the next lightning cycle, camera ready. The first strike hit the farmhouse foundation. In the flash, I saw William Millbrook. He existed in every age: child, young man, father, elderly man, corpse, all occupying the same space, all overlapping, all screaming. Second strike, the barn, Catherine Millbrook flickering through her timeline. Third, the well, their eldest daughter. Fourth, the oak tree, a son maybe 12 years old and 40 and 70 all at once. Fifth, the eastern field, another child. Sixth, the cemetery, the youngest daughter. Seventh, the road, the final child. 7 people, 7 strikes, 47 seconds between strikes. I did the math. In 127 years, that was roughly 85 million cycles. 85 million times they'd each been struck by lightning, each strike forcing them to relive the moment of their transformation. Birth, life, death, all compressed into a single eternal instant of cosmic agony. The thunder formed words again. Sarah Chen, we see you. We've seen you. We will see you. You're part of it. You've always been part of it. I took a step back from the fence, and that's when I saw it. My reflection in a puddle illuminated by the constant lightning. But it wasn't just my reflection now. I was flickering, blurring around the edges. I could see myself as I was, 30 years old, black hair pulled back, winter jacket, but also as a child, as an old woman, as... No. I ran, sprinted back to my car, drove to Shepherd's Rest with my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the wheel. In my motel room, I stared at myself in the mirror. I was solid again, present tense, single timeline. But for a moment, just a moment near the fence, I'd started to unstick.
Part 4. The Expansion. I called my department head, Dr. Marcus Reeves, on an encrypted line. I need to talk to whoever's monitoring this site, I said. Government, military, whoever built that fence. Sarah, what did you find? The storm is conscious. It's not weather. It's a temporal anomaly maintaining itself through the suffering of 7 trapped people, and it's trying to expand. Silence on the line. Marcus? I'll make some calls, he said finally. Don't go near that fence again. 2 days later, I got a visit from 3 people in unmarked SUVs. They said they were from the Department of Energy, which everyone knows is code for something else. The lead agent was a woman named Director Vance, mid-40s, gray suit, eyes that had seen things that aged you from the inside. Dr. Chen, she said, spreading photographs across the table in my motel room. You've been more thorough in a week than our team has been in a decade. I'm impressed. The photographs showed the storm from above, satellite imagery spanning years. In each image, I could see the boundary, and in each successive image, the boundary was slightly larger. It's growing, I whispered. 3 inches per year, Vance confirmed. Consistent, measurable, unstoppable. At this rate, the boundary will reach Shepherd's Rest in 22 years. Will reach Denver in 145 years. You're telling me this storm is going to consume Colorado? Eventually, yes, but that's not the worst part. She pulled out another photograph, this one showing what looked like electromagnetic field readings. The temporal distortion is accelerating. The people inside aren't just experiencing their own timelines simultaneously anymore. They're beginning to experience each other's timelines and the timelines of people who get too close. That's why I flickered. You got within 20 feet of the boundary, according to our sensors. That's closer than anyone's gotten in 5 years without entering. The field is expanding faster than the visible boundary. Soon you'll be able to experience temporal collapse from 100 feet away, then a mile, then everyone becomes unstuck. The entire world living all moments simultaneously. The end of linear time, she said. Not an explosion, not a bang, just cessation of progression. Everything that ever was and ever will be, all happening at once, forever. There has to be a way to stop it. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. We've tried everything. Nuclear weapons were discussed, rejected, too much risk of accelerating the expansion. We've tried electromagnetic dampening, temporal anchors of our own. Nothing works. The storm is self-sustaining. It feeds on the suffering of the people trapped inside, and their suffering is eternal. What about getting them out? Impossible. We've sent drones in. They experience temporal collapse immediately, exist in all states at once, which means they also exist in the state of broken and never built, and they cease to function. We've sent robots, same result. The moment anything crosses that boundary, it becomes temporally unstuck. Linear time doesn't exist in there. What if someone went in voluntarily, not to study it, but to find the anchor, the thing William Millbrook used? If we could deactivate it, then they'd be trapped too, living their entire existence at once, unable to accomplish anything, because action requires linear time. You can't find something when you're simultaneously looking for it, finding it, and already having found it. You can't deactivate something when you're simultaneously activating it and already have deactivated it. So we just watch? Wait for it to expand until it unmakes time for everyone? We monitor, we document, we keep people out. She stood to leave. And we hope someone smarter than us finds an answer before the boundary reaches critical population centers. How many people are in there now? She paused at the door. 347 confirmed. The original 7, plus 340 who entered over the last 127 years. Scientists, mostly, rescue workers, a few suicides, 2 thrill seekers, 1 journalist. They're all still conscious in there, Dr. Chen, all experiencing every moment of their lives simultaneously. Birth, life, death, joy, agony, everything, all at once, forever. Jesus Christ! No, she said softly, no Christ in there. Just 347 people living every answer to when did it end at the same time. Never.
Part 5. The Call. I should have left then. Should have taken the warning and gone back to my safe university office and published a carefully worded paper about ongoing atmospheric anomalies requiring further study. But that night, the dreams started. I was in the storm, but I wasn't just in it, I was it. I could see through the rain, feel every lightning strike as if it was my own nervous system firing. The thunder was my voice, screaming in the compressed language of collapsed time. I could see myself from the outside and inside simultaneously. I was 30 and 60 and 5 and dying and being born. I was writing my dissertation and retiring and taking my first steps. All of it now, all of it always. And I could see the others. The 347. Not just images, but experiences. I lived William Millbrook's life, felt his obsession with time, experienced his moment of terrible understanding when the anchor activated and he realized what he'd done. I lived Dr. Hargrove's last moments over and over, forever. I lived the lives of the Boy Scouts, felt their confusion and terror multiplied into eternity. I woke up screaming. But the dreams didn't stop when I opened my eyes. I was still flickering. My timeline was becoming unstuck. I could see my hands as they were, as they'd been as a child, as they would be withered with age. All at once. All real. I drove to the hospital in Shepherd's Rest. The doctor there was the same woman who'd warned me at the gas station. "How close did you get?" she asked, looking at my hands. 20 feet. Lord have mercy. No one gets that close without... Most people, it takes effect at 50 feet now. 10 years ago, it was 30. The field is expanding faster. "Can you help me?" "Help you?" She laughed bitterly. "Honey, there's no cure for being temporarily unstuck. Best I can do is keep you sedated, try to keep you from experiencing all your moments at once while you're conscious. There has to be something." "There's one thing," she said quietly, "but you won't like it. Tell me. Go back, cross the boundary, join them in the storm." "That's insane." "Is it? Right now you're stuck between states, partially in linear time, partially in simultaneous time. It's tearing you apart. If you go all the way in, at least you'd be stable. Trapped, yes. Suffering, yes. But stable. I'd rather die." "You can't die from temporal unsticking," she said gently. "You just experience dying and death and being alive all at the same time. Forever. At least in the storm you'd be with the others. You wouldn't be alone in it." Part 6. The Crossing. I lasted 3 more days. The flickering got worse. I started experiencing my own future, saw myself as an old woman dying in a hospital bed, saw myself in a nursing home, mind gone, body failing, saw my funeral, all while simultaneously experiencing my childhood, my teenage years, my 20s. The present became just one moment among infinite moments, no more real than any other. I couldn't eat because I was simultaneously full and starving and not yet hungry. Couldn't sleep because I was simultaneously exhausted and well-rested and dreaming and awake. Couldn't think because my thoughts existed in all states, conceived, completed, forgotten, all at once. On the 4th day, I drove to the fence. The motion sensors detected me immediately. Within minutes, a government vehicle arrived. Director Vance got out. "Dr. Chen, step away from the boundary." "I can't," I said. My voice was wrong, overlapping like multiple versions of me speaking at slightly different times. "I'm already unstuck. I can see everything, all moments, all times. It won't stop. We can sedate you, keep you comfortable. We have protocols. I'll be conscious through it all, you know that. Sedation doesn't work on temporal collapse. I'll be drugged and sober and high and withdrawing, all simultaneously, forever." She didn't argue. She knew I was right. There are 347 people in that storm, experiencing every moment of their existence at once, suffering infinitely. And the storm is growing. Eventually, it'll be 8 billion people, the entire world unstuck, unless someone can stop it from the inside. You can't stop it from the inside. Action is impossible when you're temporarily collapsed. Maybe, but I have to try. Because I can see my future, Director Vance. I've already lived it. I know what happens if I don't go in. What happens? The hourglass boundary reaches critical mass in 82 years. Time itself begins to collapse globally. Human consciousness can't handle it. Civilization ends not with a bang, but with everyone simultaneously experiencing their entire existence and going irreversibly insane from the totality of it. You can't know that. I'm already living it. I'm experiencing that future right now. I'm living through the end of time right now. It's already happened. It's always happening. Unless I go in and find the anchor. You'll just be trapped like the others. I'm already trapped. At least this way I'll be trapped trying to do something. I started walking towards the fence. Sarah, wait! But I couldn't wait. Waiting implied linear time. I was past waiting. I was before waiting. I was always waiting. I had to move now, which was all times, which was the only time. I climbed the fence. The razor wire cut my hands. I felt it cutting them. I felt them healed. I felt them scarred. All simultaneously. I dropped to the ground on the other side. And I crossed the boundary.
I'm writing this. I've already written this. I will always be writing this. The moment I crossed the boundary, linear time stopped being a thing I experienced and became a thing I could see, all at once, like a line stretched out in space. I am 30 years old, standing in the rain. I am 5 years old, learning to read. I am 67 years old, dying in a hospital. I am being born. I am being buried. I am all of these things simultaneously, occupying the same impossible now. The storm isn't above me, it's inside me. I am the storm. We all are. The 348 of us, 347 trapped before me, and now me, all of us existing in every moment of our lives at once. All of us screaming in the thunder. All of us looking for the anchor that did this. I can see them, feel them, experience them. William Millbrook, simultaneously performing his ritual and regretting it, and dying of old age, and being born, and teaching his children, and burying his wife, and being buried. All of it happening now. Dr. Hargrove, simultaneously entering the storm and warning others not to, and writing his papers, and dying alone, and being celebrated, and being forgotten. All now. The Boy Scouts, simultaneously camping, and drowning, and graduating college, and getting married, and dying in wars and of old age, and in accidents. All 13 timelines collapsed into 13 infinite nows. And I can feel the storm growing, feel it expanding, 3 inches per year, but also all at once, reaching toward Shepherd's Rest and Denver and the world, hungry to make everything simultaneous, to collapse all of time into a single eternal present. But I can also see the anchor. It's still in the farmhouse, still active, a crystal that exists in all states, whole, shattered, ancient, new, maintaining the collapsed time through some mechanism I can't understand, because understanding requires linear thought, and I no longer think linearly. I'm walking toward it. I've already reached it. I will always be walking toward it. The rain is me. The lightning is me. The thunder is me screaming. I'm screaming in every moment of my life, and the sound forms words. I see the anchor. I'm reaching for it. I have it. I've always had it. I'm destroying it. I can't destroy it. Time is a circle. Time is a point. Time is... The others are with me, all 348 of us, moving toward the farmhouse, moving away, standing still, all simultaneously. We're a collective of collapsed timelines, all trying to reach the anchor, all failing to reach it, all having already reached it. And I understand now. We can't destroy the anchor because destruction is a linear process. You need before and after. You need the anchor to exist, then not exist. But we exist in all states simultaneously. The anchor is whole and broken, and we're simultaneously destroying it and failing to destroy it and having never tried. We're trapped by the very nature of what we've become. But, I can still feel linear time out there beyond the boundary. I can feel it like heat from a fire. Real time, progressive time, time that moves from past to future. And I have an idea. It requires something the 347 before me never had.
It requires someone outside the storm, someone still in linear time, to act precisely when I tell them to. But how do you communicate with linear time when you exist in all times at once? The thunder.
The message. I am the thunder now. We all are. Every time the lightning strikes, every 47 seconds, for 127 years, for eternity, we scream, and the scream forms patterns, language, messages compressed into sound waves and pressure changes. I've been screaming for seconds and years and forever, and someone is listening. Director Vance's testimony, recorded June 17, 2025. After Dr. Chen entered the storm, we maintained surveillance, standard protocol. The temporal collapse happened immediately. We saw her existing in multiple ages, flickering through her timeline. She walked toward the farmhouse, or away from it, or both, or neither. Temporal unsticking makes simple observation impossible. But then, something changed. The thunder began forming new patterns, more complex, more structured. It sounded like Morse code or binary, some kind of systematic communication. Our linguistics team worked for 6 days to decode it. The message, when translated, was simple. When the 8th strike comes, electromagnetic pulse, maximum strength, precisely at strike point, only way. 8th strike? There were only 7 lightning strikes in the cycle. There had only ever been 7. We debated for weeks. The government, the military, top scientists. An electromagnetic pulse of sufficient strength to affect the storm would require a small nuclear device, detonated precisely at one of the 7 strike points, timed to coincide with the lightning. But there was no 8th strike point, until there was. 3 months after Dr. Chen entered the storm, on September 15, 2025, at 3:17 p.m., exactly 128 years after the storm began, a new lightning strike appeared. Not one of the original 7. This one struck the boundary itself, the fence line, the point where Dr. Chen had crossed over. And it kept striking, every 47 seconds. 8 points now, not 7. The message in the thunder changed. 8th point. My entry point. I am anchor now. Destroy me. Destroy us all. End the loop. Only way. Dr. Chen had somehow made herself part of the storm's pattern, made her entry point the 8th anchor, and she was telling us to destroy it, to destroy her. The ethics debates took another month, but the math was clear. Either we acted or the storm expanded until it unmade time itself. On October 28, 2025, we positioned the device. A focused electromagnetic pulse generator, built to specifications that required me to sign documents I can't discuss, positioned precisely at the point where Dr. Chen had crossed the boundary. We synchronized it to fire the moment the 8th lightning strike hit. The end of the season. I'm waiting. I've always been waiting. I will always wait. But also, in the future I can see, in the timeline I'm simultaneously living, I'm not waiting. The moment is coming. The moment is here. The moment is past. All true. All simultaneous. I made myself part of the pattern, forced the storm to incorporate my entry point as an 8th anchor. It cost everything. I had to surrender even the illusion of linearity, fully become the storm, become lightning and thunder and temporal collapse itself. But I can see the future where the device fires. I can see the electromagnetic pulse hitting precisely as the lightning strikes my anchor point, my entry point, the place where I crossed from linear time into infinite now. I can see the pulse disrupting the field, breaking the pattern, shattering not the original anchor, but the maintenance system, the cycle that keeps us all trapped in simultaneous time. I can see us, all 348 of us, suddenly snapping back to linear time. But not to life. We've been dead for seconds and decades and centuries. Our bodies exist in all states of decay. When linear time reasserts itself, causality will choose, and causality will choose the truth. We died the moment we entered. We will have always been dead. The storm will end, time will progress, the world will be saved, and we will finally stop existing in all moments at once. We will just stop. It's coming. It's here. It's... Director Vance's testimony concluded. The pulse fired at precisely 3:17 p.m. on October 28, 2025. The storm collapsed instantaneously, not gradually, not with a fade. One moment, 128 years of continuous storm. The next moment, clear sky. We found the bodies. All 348 of them scattered across the valley, arranged in a perfect circle around the farmhouse foundation, like they'd been placed there deliberately. They were all in various states of decomposition, consistent with when they'd entered. William Millbrook and his family were little more than skeletons. Dr. Hargrove was remarkably preserved, the cold, we think. The Boy Scouts were identifiable. Dr. Sarah Chen was fresh. She looked like she'd died seconds before, though she'd been in the storm for 6 months. Autopsy showed no obvious cause of death. Her heart had simply stopped, like someone had turned off a switch. They all had the same cause of death: cardiac arrest due to temporal reintegration. When we brought their timelines back to linear, their bodies had to choose a state, and they chose death, because that's what happens when you exist in a place where time doesn't progress. You don't live, you just exist. And when existence ends, so do you. The valley is clear now, quiet. We're monitoring it, but there's no sign of temporal anomalies. Time flows normally there. Dr. Chen saved the world. She's buried in Shepherd's Rest, along with the others we could identify. There's a memorial there now. 348 names. People who sacrificed linear time itself to stop the storm from spreading. Sometimes I visit her grave and wonder what it was like, existing in all moments at once, living and dying and being born simultaneously. Then I go home and watch my daughter grow, one day at a time, and I'm grateful. Grateful for the arrow of time. Grateful for beginnings and endings. Grateful for the simple mercy of living in one moment at a time, instead of all moments forever. Epilogue. 3 years later. The valley is a tourist attraction now. There's a visitors center, educational displays, a walking path around the former boundary. On quiet days when the wind blows through the valley, some visitors report hearing something in the sound of air through grass. A pattern, a rhythm, almost like words. Thank you. We're free. Time moves again. The scientists say it's pareidolia, the human brain finding meaning in random noise. But I was there. I heard Dr. Chen speak through thunder, and sometimes when the wind is right, I think I can hear them, all 348 of them, not trapped in infinite now anymore, but finally existing in the proper progression of past to present to future, even if that progression ended with death, because death is an ending. And they hadn't had an ending for 128 years. Now they do. The storm is over. The season of timeless suffering has ended, and time, blessed linear time, marches on. They say time is an illusion, a construct of human consciousness. After Millbrook Valley, I know different. Time is real. Time is precious. Time is the only thing standing between us and an eternity of experiencing every moment at once. Dr. Sarah Chen and 347 others learned that the hard way. Spent seconds or decades or centuries trapped in a storm where all moments happened simultaneously, where every joy and every agony existed forever in a single impossible now. They saved us from that fate. But the question that keeps me up at night is this: what if it happens again? What if somewhere in the world someone else finds a temporal anchor? What if another storm begins? Because time is fragile, and the boundaries between past, present, and future are thinner than we think. If you ever see a storm that doesn't move, doesn't dissipate, strikes the same place over and over with clockwork precision, don't go near it. Don't try to study it. Don't cross the boundary, because some storms aren't weather, they're prisons. And once you're inside, you'll be there forever. You'll be there now. Always now. Forever now. If this story made you question the nature of time itself, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the impossible corners of reality. Drop a comment telling me, would you risk entering the storm to study it, or would you stay safely in linear time? Check out the playlist link in the description for more stories about phenomena that shouldn't exist, but do. And remember, the next time you see lightning strike the same place twice, ask yourself, is it really a coincidence, or is time starting to collapse? Until next time, stay in the present. It's the only moment you've got.